This Bio 181 video is on cell signaling, chapter 9, and we're talking about kinases that are receptor molecules. Okay, so here is a cell. That's the cell membrane that I just drew. A receptor kinase, so say it's located, I'm going to draw it here in red. So say it's located here on the surface of the cell. Just simplify it like this. So a receptor kinase will receive a signal. So a signaling molecule, again, that signal is called a ligand, okay, in general. So the receptor kinase is this red molecule here that is receiving the signal. And it can be activated by what is called autophosphorylation. So there can be a part that extends into the cytosol or the cytoplasm inside the cell. And then once the ligand is received, it's going to actually catalyze the reaction where it adds a phosphate to itself and basically energizes it. So it's going, that's autophosphorylation. So it's going to add a phosphate group. It's going to energize it. And then that is going to result in a series of reactions that are going to continue to add phosphates to more and more molecules. So I'm just saying here, say we've got a whole bunch of reactions, E, F, G. Okay, so each of these reactions is going to be adding a phosphate group. So we're adding a phosphate group here, and then that's catalyzing a reaction where we're adding a phosphate group here and adding a phosphate group here. We're energizing those, and then these are going to energize two more. And so pretty soon you've got all of this activity inside the cell just as the result of a single signal molecule that's being received. So this cascade is like a waterfall, right? So basically you have an initial start up here. It's like a series of dominoes that then one will lead to the next reaction, to the next, and then you have these wide extended cell effects, right? Cellular responses. And again, phosphorylation, that vocabulary word just means you're adding a phosphate group. So you're adding a phosphate group to a molecule. All right. So there's a specific type of kinase receptor that's extremely common in humans. It's called, and other mammals, and even in other vertebrates, a receptor tyrosine kinase. It's abbreviated RTK. These are membrane receptors, and they catalyze phosphorylation. So it's just a specific type of kinase receptor. And you can see it over here. This is a diagram from our book. There's actually two ligands that are going to be received. Here's one insulin molecule. Here's another insulin molecule. So it takes two of them being received at the same time to initiate a response. And this is pretty common actually in cellular responses. You have to have a certain concentration density for a response to occur. So then inside the cell, in the intracellular part of the protein, you have phosphates, which are shown here in yellow, these high energy phosphates, right? So these phosphates are then going to be transferred to protein, and that is then going to create a series of responses that are going to activate cellular response. So one of them is to activate glycogen synthase. Glycogen is a large carbohydrate storage molecule in an animal. So in a plant, it would be starch. In an animal, it's glycogen. So again, if you get insulin because you eat a meal, your pancreas will secrete it. It goes into the bloodstream. It goes through the endocrine system. And then any cell that has a receptor that can bind to insulin will have a response. And so one of the responses is to synthesize glycogen, okay? Especially like if you're in a cell like a muscle cell or a liver cell. And then the last concept is just really defining a few terms. Some examples of secondary messengers. So you've got your cellular membrane here, you've got your receptor. Here comes my signaling molecule, which is my ligand. It's going to initiate an internal response. And then there's lots of pathways that occur. Some of the messengers are quite common in here that are going to relay the signal from one biochemical pathway to the next. One of them is called a cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP, it's very similar to ATP. And then we also have another one, calcium ions. So often these are going to go in and then relay messages to other receptors in the cell. So these molecules are called secondary messengers inside the cell. All right, that's it.